Welcome, everyone. My name is Wendy Castle, owner of One Bite Nutrition. I'm also a dietitian and certified diabetes care and education specialist. We are going through a hormone series, going over hormones that affect our appetite and therefore affect our nutrition. I'm super excited to have one of our brilliant dietitians here. Nikki, thank you so much for being here with us. And today we're going to talk about leptin. So one of the hormones that affect, our satiety cues when we feel full. So can you kind of give us some details about what leptin is?
Yeah, so it's that hormone that helps regulate fullness, our energy balance, also has a lot to do with our body weight.
Mhm.
Like you said, it's often called the satiety or fullness hormone because it tells our brain when we've had enough to eat, right? It's what signals from our stomach to our brain and it says, okay, we're done. It's produced by those fat cells and sends signals to the brain about our energy stores as well.
Absolutely. And for anybody that has seen our previous video on ghrelin, it's kind of like the counterpart, like the opposite of ghrelin, right? So can you kind of explain how leptin is different than ghrelin?
So that ghrelin signals hunger, right? Well, leptin signals fullness, energy
Mhm.
sufficiency. So they're partners, right? Ghrelin
Mhm.
says we need food, leptin says I have enough food. They're both going to be really essential for that normal appetite regulation.
Absolutely. I remember I did my one of my projects in school, well, it was in my dietetic internship on these two hormones. And one thing that I created was like, a balance, one of those scales that go back and forth. If
Hmm.
one goes up, the other goes down, to
Hmm.
kind of explain that relationship between the two. So, um, how do people feel hungry even after eating? Why does that happen to some people?
Right. So just like with any of our hormones, that signaling can be disrupted. Like you said, right? Things can, that the balance scale needs to be there. And when it's not there, we're gonna still feel hungry. So
Mhm.
things like chronic dieting or over restriction, under eating, just like with ghrelin, right? Poor sleep, high stress, and really those inconsistent eating patterns can really disrupt this one. So again, just like we talked about before, it's not a personal failure. It's that our body might not trust that we have reliable like food reliably in or yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of like we mentioned in our video with ghrelin. So if you haven't had a chance, go back and look at that one as well, because these kind of go hand in hand. But our body wants homeostasis. It wants that balance. So this is just one of the hormones that affects that balance. There's a term going around leptin resistance. Can you explain to people what that means?
Yeah, so this happens when the brain doesn't respond well to those signals from leptin, even though, right, these levels might be really high, the brain isn't listening to them. So, of course, this can make it harder to feel, satisfied and to regulate our appetite. It's often linked to like things like chronic inflammation, that really high stress, the sleep, again, repeated dieting. So, like if you've, followed every single fad diet your whole life, this is probably going to hit you pretty harder.
Mhm.
So not just our body size, right? More of these biologic responses is what this is going to be linked to.
Absolutely. So I mean, you mentioned dieting. Can dieting lower your leptin? Like, is that something that can
Yeah,
affect
so
it?
it can, right? When we diet or eat less than our body needs, those leptin levels drop.
Mhm.
So it tells our brain that energy or food, right? Those calories, that's energy, is scarce. So that's going to increase our hunger. It's also going to lower our metabolism. And that's going to be one of those big reasons why weight loss becomes harder and harder the longer that excessive restriction goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I know some people or some patients kind of give the explanation. It's like I'm fighting my body. And we
Hmm.
really want to reverse that. We want you to listen to your body, listen to the cues, recognize why they're happening.
Hmm.
Um, so does leptin only control your appetite? What else does it influence?
Yeah, so right, it's also going to have a role again that metabolism and energy expenditure, right? If I am doing exercise, am I no, using more energy, less energy? Has a big role in reproductive hormones as well, your immune function, thyroid signaling, and then again that your menstrual cycle regulation as well. So right, we're looking at a lot of overall health things here, not just weight.
Yeah, absolutely. it's not just one thing that it's going to affect. It kind of affects many things. So if people are experiencing any of these issues, it could be um, an influence from leptin.
Mhm.
So for those people seeking a way to increase leptin naturally, do you have any tips with that?
Yeah, so with this one, really we don't want to boost leptin, right? But so we're wanting to improve that sensitivity to it.
Mhm.
So again, supporting our body. Again, not fighting against our body, let's support our body. So eat enough consistently. Again, avoiding that extreme restriction is going to be one of the biggest things. I think all my patients that come to me and I say, okay, well, I need you to eat more. They probably think I'm crazy at first, and that's fine. Um, but right, it really is right when we are surrounded by all these fad diets and like this many calories, that many calories. A lot of times it's not enough to support an adult body or even a toddler body sometimes, honestly. Again, prioritizing that sleep, managing our stress. We have to include carbohydrates in some
Mhm.
form here. That's a big one too. Again, for hormone balance, over all these hormones we're going to talk about, those carbohydrates play a big role in how those work. And of course, eating our regular meals, making our body feel safe is what we're to hope or is what we're hoping for here. That's going to improve that leptin signaling.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you, a lot of my patients come to me and they've been chronically dieting for years, maybe even decades. They've seen the fad diets, and they are eating super low calorie, kind of like you mentioned. And they're not losing weight. They're like, how can I be only eating this many calories and not lose weight? And it's because, they threw themselves into starvation mode. Your body needs to be feeling safe and that it can operate given the fuel that you're providing it. And then, of course, with the balance of the activity that you're having. So, um, yeah, sometimes less is not better, like that's not always the solution for people. So how does leptin affect somebody, or how does sleep affect somebody's leptin levels?
Yeah, so just the food that we had. So even one night of poor sleep can impact that appetite regulation. Of course, it's gonna be a lot easier to, bounce back from one night of poor sleep than a lot of nights of poor sleep, but even one night has such a big impact on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we sometimes use the term leptin resistance. Is that permanent? Like, is that something that somebody's just going to struggle with forever?
Yeah, not usually. There are some cases that, there's bigger things going on in our system, but for the average person and most people, the answer is no, right? Leptin sensitivity, it can improve over time, again, with consistent nourishment, rest, stress reduction, and of course, that break from dieting. It's an adaptation that our body has, but it's reversible. And again, not a flaw. We just have to work with our body.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen to the signaling. So what would you say is the biggest misconception about leptin that people think when they're hearing about that hormone?
Yeah, kind of like with a lot of hormones, that it's just something I need to control, right? I just need to have the willpower over it.
Mhm.
Again, these are biological responses, right? Things that you can't just, like have the willpower for. If you do, it's making it worse, not better,
Right.
right? And so it's going to work best when our body feels safe, fed, rested, not under that constant pressure to eat less, which of course gives us more stress. And it's just this endless cycle.
Vicious cycle. Yeah. So if you had to give people one last tip about leptin, what would it be?
Yeah, so again, it's feeling full is that biological process, not a moral achievement. I think that a lot of times, especially with weight loss or weight gain or just weight in general,
Mhm.
we feel like it's okay, well, I just need to be better about this. I just need to do this. Okay, but it's not always that simple. Not that that's simple, anyways.
Mhm.
But again, supporting our body, supporting that leptin sensitivity, not fighting it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you watching, if you feel like you need more information about this, or you might want to speak with a dietitian, you can book direct on our website, onebitenutrition.com. Feel free to leave a comment below if you found this helpful. We love talking to our patients about not just what they're eating, but why they're eating and how we can help them move further to meet their goals.